So let's say you are struggling with hip or back pain and you're thinking, you know what, I'm gonna do some hip flexor stretching to try to straighten this all out. But every time you do hip flexor stretching, you feel like your low back hurts. What should you do? In this video, we're gonna talk about 4 different things you should be paying attention to when you do your hip flexor stretching so that you don't hurt your back while you're trying to fix your hips or your back. So if you're ready, let's get ready to think right, move right, and feel right. So the number one thing we need to think about when you're doing your hip flexor stretch is how deep you're going. Like with any stretch, if you try to do the hardest version of the stretch, going as far and as low and as deep as you can without paying attention to what your body can actually do right now, you're going to hurt yourself. So when you do your hip flexor stretch, you don't need to go all the way down. Start it up high and start moving a little bit into the right zone where you feel the stretch in your hip flexors. You should feel it kind of at the top of your thighs slash in towards your groin here. That's where you want to feel it. You don't want to feel like you're going so far and you're trying so hard that you're arching hard into your low back and making your low back feel like it's compressing like this. So instead of going super low, you just stay high, okay? Just a little bit, just like that. The number 2 thing I want you to think about is what you're doing with your pelvis, because when we're in that hip flexor stretch, you might feel like, if I just crank a little bit more and tilt my pelvis, you're gonna get more of a stretch, but you're not. You're just hurting your low back, right? You're going to so much what's called anterior tilt that it's starting to hurt because you're getting extension in the spine, okay? Anterior tilt like this puts extension in your spine and it can make your spine feel not so happy. So what you want to do is make sure your butt muscle is on. You can fire your abs a little bit and turn them on so your pelvis, instead of being like this, goes a little bit more like that, and that's going to help your low back feel better. But this is really weird. It's happened to me. If you overdo it, if you actually really focus on firing your abs and you think about like scooping like this, you can actually make your low back hurt. So you're gonna have to find the middle ground that actually feels like a stretch and doesn't hurt your low back, because I actually did this. I swear to you, I did this. I did this recently. I was focusing so much on posteriorly tilting my pelvis that I was actually making my low back hurt, because I was like really going to posterior tilt and then scooping, and it was not good. So find the middle ground. If you're cranking into it too far, it's gonna hurt. If you go too posterior, it's gonna hurt. So find that delicate balance that actually feels like a proper stretch where it's supposed to be. Before we get to the next tip, I just want to ask you, what got you interested in stretching your hip flexors, and how many times have you hurt your back stretching your hip flexors? Drop me a comment down below. Now, a third thing that could be really helpful when you're doing a hip flexor stretch is to actually think about the height of your feet or your body in general. So when we are doing a standing hip flexor stretch, you might find that it's a lot more helpful to have your front foot on something that's higher. That's going to help you access the stretch much sooner and with more balance. You can hold on to something and then just shift forward a little bit, and you can aim it and feel the stretch in the right spot without a whole lot of stress and strain. Whereas when you're just on the ground like this, it can be a little tough. Like this leg might be wobbling because it's not strong enough to hold you up. It's kind of hard to get right at the right angle, but right here, it's so simple. You just put your foot up and then shift forward a little bit, and boom, you start feeling that stretch. Really easy way to get that hip flexor stretch to feel good without feeling like your low back is getting all jacked up. And finally, we need to talk about something you can do if you're gonna do a kneeling hip flexor stretch or a kneeling quad stretch. Hey, I also want to say a big thanks to Catherine Honeyman for the $100 donation via PayPal. Your support for my channel means a lot to me. Thank you so much. It also means that I don't have to make commercials for VPNs or clothing or for website builders or for supplements or whatever weird stuff people want you to buy. If you'd like to support this channel too, you can go to uprighthealth.com/donate for all the easy options, including the lowest fee way, which is PayPal. And you can use the link that's paypal.me/uprighthealth right now if you want to just donate super simply. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and go to my website, uprighthealth.com, to get on my newsletter and get access to a free course to help you feel better in your body. All right, that's it. Let's get back to the video. So when you get set for a kneeling quad stretch, you're going to put your stuff down by a wall, right? And when you go to do the quad stretch, you're gonna put your foot on the wall like so. But if you're feeling pain while doing a quad or hip flexor stretch, when you go up, you're probably doing what we talked about earlier, which is cranking into your low back because you're actually too stiff here and you're trying to do too much too fast. So you're coming up, and it's just killing your low back because you're not listening to me. Please, listen to me. Back off a little bit. Now to do that, all you need to do is start adding elevation. You can use multiple pads to increase the elevation of this knee. And that's gonna make it easier, again, for you to feel the stretch in the right place without getting into a crazy hard angle for your back. Over time, as you get better at this, you can just remove the extra elevation, but for now, use it and it's cool. And of course, in case you haven't already been watching any of my other videos on hip flexor stretching, use something to help you balance, okay? So hold a chair, hold a stick, hold something, right? Just grab that, get into your stretch, make sure you feel stable, because what you don't want to do is feel like you're so unstable that your abs, your everything around your core locks down to try to help you feel like you're not going to die. So hold on to something, feel the stretch in the right spot, breathe, enjoy, and relax. And while we're talking about hip flexor stretching, I do want to remind you about the Healthy Hips program, which you can find at uprighthealth.com/DIY. It'll help you rebuild your hips at home. As with every exercise, I want you to remember that slow is safe and fast is foolish. So don't go into the hardest version of any exercise when you first start it. When you're first starting with your hip flexor stretches, go easier. Start with something that's not so hard. Use help wherever you need it. Don't go as deep, and that's going to help you in the long run. So the easiest piece of advice I can give you that sums up all four of the tricks I just told you is to make sure you feel the stretch in the right place. If you don't feel it in the right place, it's because you're doing something wrong. Or it is possible that you could just not need the stretch, but probably not. You spend a lot of time sitting. I know you do. You know you do. If you're looking for a program to help you rebuild your hips at home, go to uprighthealth.com/DIY and check out the Healthy Hips program. For more free videos to help you with your hips here on YouTube, just check these free videos out here. Like, share, and subscribe with the bell notifications on. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't.